Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Great America Show. It's great to have you with us on this beautiful day in America. The swamp is back in session. That's right. Republicans or Democrats are finally back to work after taking a nice long summer off, while you and I didn't have that luxury. We worked most of the summer. Hopefully some of you guys took vacations. I took a little bit of a vacation, but I worked on it. So I really don't consider that. But nonetheless, they are back to work. I don't know how much work they're going to get done, but I guess we're going to have to wait and see the months and the weeks ahead, days ahead, what they have in store. Will Mike Johnson continue to push forward President Trump's MAGA agenda that Americans overwhelmingly voted for back in November? Just a few moments, we're going to be joined by my good friend, Congressman Tim Burchett of the great state of Tennessee, to take up the agenda, what's on his mind, what he thinks is going to go forward, what the Republicans are going to have a hard time with, and stopping the Marxist Democrats from any crazy radical ideas that they have. So it's a new day, and a new day for an appeals court to reject President Trump's, his agenda. This time, they rejected the invocation of the Alien Enemies Act to deport Venezuelan illegals in a 2-1 decision earlier this afternoon. The three-judge panel, including the majority, Southwich, who's a George W. Bush appointee, Ramirez is a Biden appointee, and dissenting Oldham, who is a Trump appointee. The majority ruled that there has been no invasion or predatory incursion on behalf of the Venezuelan gang members. The Fifth Circuit is the first federal appeals court to rule directly on that March 14th presidential proclamation invoking the 1798 law to justify rapid deportations. Circuit Judge Leslie Southwick, writing for the two-judge majority, rejected the Trump administration's assertion that the Venezuelan gang Tren de Agua had engaged in any kind of predatory incursion on U.S. soil. That's right. They said that there's no invasion of Tren de Agua gang members here in America. Now, the act that governs the expansive powers to detain and deport citizens of hostile foreign nations, but only in times of war or during an invasion or predatory incursion, was this act that President Trump invoked. Earlier this year, the U.S. Supreme Court temporarily blocked the Trump administration from deporting dangerous Venezuelan gang members under the Alien Enemies Act. This is absolutely unbelievable, folks. More judges blocking the Trump agenda. More judges going rogue on America. More judges allowing illegals to invade this country. It shouldn't have to come to President Trump invoking the Alien Enemies Act for these people to do their damn jobs. They're here illegally. Now, the fact that they're gang members, I think, adds insult to injury, but they're here illegally. They broke the law to get here illegally. On those grounds alone, these people should be deported. Yet we constantly have these judges, these rogue Marxist Dem judges, who think, and rhinos, I guess in some cases, like this George W. Bush appointee, who think that they're judge, jury, and verdict, and that there's no problem here. There's no illegal migrant crisis here. There's no problem at our southern border. There's no gang problem. I guess it's the reason why President Trump doesn't have to send in the National Guard all across deep blue cities, right? I guess that might be the case. Believe it or not, yesterday we brought you the story that President Trump and his administration blew up that drug vessel coming from Venezuela. Believe it or not, there's some backlash on the left and even on the right about President Trump killing these drug lords. President Trump doesn't really care what they have to say because he's for America, not drugs and not these illegal gang members who think they're going to overtake this country. He was asked about it earlier today in the Oval Office. Let's take a listen.
On the boat, you had massive amounts of drugs. We have tapes of them speaking. It was massive amounts of drugs coming into our country to kill a lot of people. And everybody fully understands that. In fact, you see it. You see the bags of drugs all over the boat. And they were hit. Obviously, they won't be doing it again. And I think a lot of other people won't be doing it again when they watch that tape. They're going to say, let's not do this. We have to protect our country, and we're going to. Venezuela's been a very bad actor. They've been, as you know, they've been sending millions of people into our country, many of them Tren de Agua, some of the worst gangs, some of the worst people anywhere in the world in terms of gangs. And we had some in Washington, D.C. We took care of them very quickly, but they're out of here. They've gone. But Venezuela's been very bad, both in terms of drugs and sending some of the worst criminals anywhere in the world into our country. They emptied out, you don't know this, but they emptied out their prisons in Venezuela, and they emptied them out into the United States of America. And that's part of the problem we have. We're getting them out. We're getting them out rapidly, but it's caused a tremendous problem. And Pete and all of the people that are working very hard to rectify the stupidity of the Biden administration, allowing these people to pour into our country with open borders. We are paying a big price as a country for the incompetence of the Biden administration. But think of it. Opened up prisons, drug dealers, drug lords, everything coming out of Venezuela. They said, and we said, we're not going to put up with it anymore. So Venezuela has been one of the worst actors in the whole group, and we have a group of pretty bad actors.
No, they're good people, according to these appeals court judges who say that they're allowed to stay. And President Trump has no authority to rule over border or immigration policy in this country. Think about that for a second. The president of the United States does not have the power, according to these rogue judges. This is not me speaking, because I completely disagree with it, and I'm sure most of you do as well. But they say that President Trump does not have the power to deport these people under the Alien Enemies Act because there's no invasion. Well, why don't you tell that, judges? Why don't you tell that to the family members of the 100,000+ people here in America who lost loved ones over the last few years? Each and every year, it's over 100,000. But why don't you tell that to those folks who have lost loved ones to fentanyl, to drugs pouring into this country? The overwhelming majority of them coming through that southern border, or as you saw yesterday, via boat from South American countries. Now, whether they're coming from China through these South American countries, I think there's probably an overwhelming majority of them coming from China, as we've seen in the past. But nonetheless, these people are the ones bringing it in. But these judges tell us nothing to see here, no issues, move along, business as usual. There's no invasion. Hard to believe. So on the D.C. front, President Trump posting on Truth Social, giving a big shout out to Mayor Muriel Bowser of D.C. Last week, Muriel Bowser shocked Democrats and the media by acknowledging that Trump's crackdown on crime in the city was helpful and effective. Now, there's a big issue that the Marxist Dems are having a problem with Mayor Bowser with. President Trump's takeover of Washington, D.C. was only a 30-day order unless he declares an emergency. Now, Muriel Bowser is on Team Trump. She has issued an executive order to force local law enforcement to work with federal officials indefinitely, which means President Trump doesn't have to declare this emergency. And she thinks this arrangement is working out well. This is a huge win for President Trump. This is a huge win for America. And this is a huge win for the people of Washington, D.C., who have, quite frankly, have to live under conditions that are just not right. Muggings, robberies, burglaries, carjackings, you name it, and it was happening in Washington, D.C. Crime is virtually zero right now in Washington, D.C., with President Trump sending in the Guard and the federal takeover of D.C. Yesterday, we told you House Oversight Chairman James Comer releasing 33,000 pages of Epstein documents. Massive. We haven't had the chance to go through all of them, but the few things that we have been able to go through that I think are telling. Just 9 days before Jeffrey Epstein allegedly hung himself, that is, because he did kill himself, right? 9 days before that, he took a mental and psychological evaluation that the Bureau of Prisons documented. And they conferred that he wasn't suicidal, he wasn't going to kill himself, and that everything was okay as he awaited to go to trial where he figured he was going to beat charges. Lo and behold, 9 days later, he wound up hanging himself, allegedly. That is, of course, Dan Bongino tells us that as well. So we're supposed to believe that, and that's what happened. Also in these documents, these 33,000 documents released by House Oversight Chairman James Comer, that 1 minute of missing video. You folks remember the video that was released by the FBI and DOJ that showed 10 hours of surveillance footage from that day in August of 2019, where he, of course, hung himself. There was a minute missing, which Pam Bondi told us that's normal. That's been going on for the last 30 years. All the videos for every day for 30 years. That 1 minute of video was missing, as I think she said the video overlapped or something like that. I'm not a cameraman, but I've never heard of that happening. CCTVs are usually continuous and continuous and continuous. Of course, that 1 minute has been found, and who knows if it was doctored or not, but showed no foul play, of course. They weren't going to release a 1-minute video of someone going into Jeffrey's Epstein to show him hanging himself, of course. Earlier today, there was a vote on the House floor to censor Marxist Democrat LaMonica McIver. You remember her back in New Jersey when she assaulted a federal agent. Now, you would think that she's under federal charges for this, of course. You would think every Republican and Democrat would be against her assaulting federal agents, so they'd vote for this, except for a few. Clay Higgins, who was the man who forced this censure vote after she was charged with assaulting this federal agent, every Democrat with the help of 5 Republicans killed the motion. The 5 Republicans, they're familiar names I'm sure you guys know about. Don Bacon, Mike Flood, Dave Joyce, Mike Turner, and David Vallado, all killing this motion to censor this Marxist Democrat who is under federal charges for, like I said, assaulting a federal agent. Democrats stick together. Republicans just can't seem to get it together. But hopefully this time around in 2026, they get their act together and we get rid of these rhinos once and for all. Seth Rich, he's a figure we talk about a lot here on this show. Attorney Ty Clevenger, good friend of mine, great friend of this show, is now threatening to call in Attorney General Pam Bondi to testify in the Seth Rich case and DOJ's withholding of key documents. He says that the documents will point to an inside job at the DNC and an email leak. Now, Seth Rich was the man who was gunned down. They called it a robbery, a botched robbery, in which nothing was ever stolen from him. Years later now, we still have no idea who killed him, what happened on that day. A murder weapon was never found. A lot of inconsistencies. I think it's very interesting. The Department of Justice has been very hush-hush on this, not saying a word, not releasing his laptop that they apparently have in their custody, not releasing any hard drives. They don't want to tell us anything about it. So it's people like Ty Clevenger who want to get to the bottom of it, and I believe Ty will. Folks, please stay with us. The Great America Show continues in just one moment.
I'm excited to announce that we're having a huge sale on overstock and brand new products. For example, MyPillow Percale bed sheets, every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. Our Percale bed sheets are breathable, cool and crisp, and they're perfect for spring and summer. And check out Rev 7, the next generation of energy drinks. It tastes great, and it gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. Best of all, it's actually good for you. And for a limited time, try our 3-pack absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs, or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88. Twin size, full size, queen size, king sizes, all $29.88. Inventory is extremely limited at this price, so order now.
Thanks, everybody, for staying with us here on the Great America Show. So as I said, Ty Clevenger, a good friend of mine, a good friend of the show, sending off a blistering letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel back in April, accusing the FBI of flagrantly concealing critical records about the late DNC staffer Seth Rich about the now discredited Russia collusion narrative. Back in February of 2024, Clevenger demanded that the FBI hand over Seth Rich's documents that they continue to conceal from the public. Now, the interesting part about it is the FBI refused once again, and their refusal follows a pattern of obfuscation. For years, an agency denied even possessing Seth Rich's laptop until Clevenger's legal efforts forced the FBI to admit that they had it. Yet the agency still refuses to disclose any metadata or any information from Seth Rich's electronic devices. Even more damning now is that Clevenger has already uncovered proof that the FBI improperly withheld pages from the CrowdStrike report related to the alleged 2016 DNC hack, an event that conveniently became a political weapon used against President Trump. Of April of this year, Clevenger filed a motion in federal court to hold the FBI in contempt for what he calls a deliberate and willful defiance of a court order mandating that the release of key information related to the murder of Seth Rich be released. The letter, which has been obtained by the Gateway Pundit, implicated former DOJ and intelligence officials in what Clevenger calls a systemic cover-up designed to protect the Obama-era deep state operatives and their media allies. Clevenger is representing a plaintiff, Brian Hurlison, in a FOIA act against the FBI. Claims that the agency is withholding documents that could unravel the official narrative surrounding Rich's 2016 murder and the so-called Russian hacking of DNC emails. Clevenger argues that the FBI's refusal to release those records, including those from Seth Rich's work laptop, is not only a violation of the FOIA, but also an attempt to shield evidence that could exonerate Russia and point to an inside job at the DNC. Yes, that's right, you, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. In his letter to Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and other Trump officials, Clevenger highlighted compelling evidence suggesting Rich was the source of the DNC emails published by WikiLeaks, not Russia, like the Democrats told us, the Russian hackers, as alleged by the Mueller report and the Mueller investigators and all of the intelligence community. You know, the same folks who said that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation? WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange hinted at Rich's involvement in the 2016 interview he did, offering a $20,000 reward for information on his murder. Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Seymour Hersh also claimed in a sworn deposition that a trusted source confirmed that Seth Rich was the leaker. Now, this is also in line with what Roger Stone tells us, a man who was also caught up in the Russia collusion hoax. Clevenger points to FBI's possession of Seth Rich's laptop, a personal laptop image, and a DVD and tape drive, items that the Bureau initially denied having. Despite court orders to examine those devices, the FBI is stonewalled, refusing to confirm whether it even had the documents or ever reviewed them. Clevenger is arguing that deliberate tactic to protect the narrative that the Russian intel, not Rich, was behind the DNC email hack. It's unbelievable, folks. Now, the letter didn't stop at the FBI. Clevenger is also representing the Transparency Project in a separate FOIA case, and he's accusing the CIA of potentially fabricating Russian fingerprints in DNC emails to frame Russia and undermine President Trump. Now, you would think Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, they were all so against the Russia collusion hoax. Why would they be holding this back? The CIA's refusal to confirm or deny the existence of such records, citing that national security only fuels suspicion of a deeper cover-up. Clevenger called on the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, and CIA Director John Ratcliffe to investigate and release these records voluntarily, aligning with President Trump's directive to declassify the Russia hoax documents. Clevenger is also raising concerns about Aaron Rich, who's Seth's brother, who allegedly seized Seth's personal laptop and phone shortly after the murder. Rich's brother subsequently lawsuits again suggesting his involvement in the email leak, including Batowski, who has been described as part of a coordinated lawfare campaign to silence critics. Clevenger questions why his brother has refused to authorize WikiLeaks to disclose what it knows about Seth Rich's role. Now, in a separate letter from Clevenger to White House officials, including counsel at the White House, David Warrington, Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, and Senior Counsel Stanley Woodward, Clevenger proposes bold reforms to combat federal government FOIA violations. He suggests appointing a chief transparency officer to prosecute bureaucrats who obstruct public access to records and advocates for legislation to criminalize FOIA violation modeled on Texas law, which is now. Clevenger is doing the Lord's work now, folks. It's very sad to see that we still have a Department of Justice. We still have an FBI who is holding back President Trump's agenda. I'm not sure why we're at this point. I'm not sure how we got to this point. But President Trump has ordered Tulsi Gabbard to declassify it all, release it all, let it all out. What are they holding back? Why won't Kash Patel, a man who was, speaking out against the Russia hoax more than perhaps anybody, on this show with the great Lou Dobbs, I can't even count how many times, speaking out against the Russia collusion hoax. Yet we still sit here years later, almost 10 years later since Seth Rich was murdered, and we still don't have the answers to what happened. I don't know what happened, but I do know when the FBI and the DOJ is protecting information this sacred and this tight, that it smells to high heavens that there's some sort of cover-up happening. Like I said, I don't know, but I can speculate just as you and I can, and take Ty Clevenger's word for it, who I know to be a great attorney, for what's actually happening. Folks, we're going to take one more quick break here on the Great America Show. When we return, rhinos on Capitol Hill, they're back to work, and the rhinos are rhinoing some Epstein victims up on Capitol Hill today, members of Thomas Massie, a man with severe Trump derangement syndrome. We're going to bring that all to you on the other side of this quick break, folks. The Great America Show continues in just moments. Please stay with us.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Thanks, everybody, for staying with us here on the Great America Show. So Epstein victims and survivors speaking out for the first time announced they will release their own client list to expose the elite pedophile ring cover-up. Yesterday, we heard Anna Paulina Luna on the stairs of the Capitol as she sat in depositions with these people and said that they named names, not political. Some of the richest people, she says, are in the world were among some of these people that were named in that meeting. So this group of victims broke their decades of silence this afternoon, stepping forward to demand justice and transparency from this government, vowing to release their own list if the political establishment continues to stonewall. In May, FBI Director Kash Patel and Deputy Director Dan Bongino ignited a firestorm across conservative circles after they publicly went on air, I believe it was on Fox News or Fox Business, to tell us that Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide. You remember the July memo obtained by Axios, Jeffrey Epstein. Now, we don't know if it was leaked or it was released, but it was one of the worst worded memos I've ever seen in my career, in my life. But that memo says Jeffrey Epstein didn't have a client list and that he didn't have any sort of materials that he would use as blackmail. The FBI determined that Epstein did commit suicide. I know we keep having to say this, but they says he did commit suicide in 2019. The FBI memo also said that there was no evidence that Epstein blackmailed any powerful political figures. Additionally, the memo suggested that no further Epstein's files will be released. We know that now to not be true because James Comer just released 33,000. They ended their memo with, quote, the DOJ and FBI will no longer further disclose Epstein-related materials because it wouldn't be appropriate or warranted. Now, earlier this afternoon, Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna of California, a Republican and a Democrat, Republican. By the way, I mean, you guys hear me say this often on the show. Thomas Massie didn't speak out for these survivors the last 4 years of Joe Biden in office. I am all for releasing everything Epstein, with the exception of holding back these people who are brutally taken advantage of. But everything else should absolutely come out. But I just find it so troubling that Thomas Massie, who's got a terrible case of Trump derangement syndrome, now all of a sudden wants to make this his key issue for 4 years. Or since 2019, we could even go back. For 6 years. He didn't give a damn about these victims. Didn't care about releasing anything. Did no grandstanding, gaslighting press conference on the steps of the Capitol with a Democrat. But now all of a sudden, he cares. Imagine that. So Ro Khanna and Massie claim the support that's growing on both sides of the aisle, 212 Democrats, 12 Republicans, expressing their willingness to act. This comes as House Oversight Chairman James Comer turned over those 33,000 pages of documents. We're going to bring you some sound from one of the victims who is speaking out now for the first time from earlier today. Take a listen.
Transparency is justice. Release the files. end the secrecy and stand with us in declaring that no one, no billionaires, no politicians, not world leaders, is above the law. And let me announce now, several of us Epstein survivors have been discussing creating our own list of names. We know the names. Many of us were abused by them. Now together as survivors, we will confidentially compile the names we all know were regularly in the Epstein world. And it will be done by survivors and for survivors. No one else is involved. Stay tuned for more details on that. Because history is watching, and so are the women who will come after us. Thank you.
God bless her and all those people who were brutal victims of what Epstein did. As I said from the onset, I am all in favor of releasing everything they have. Let's get it all out there in the public domain and let the prosecutions come. If you brutally did something to an underage girl or an underage guy or whatever they were doing, you deserve to face the wheels of justice. I don't care how long has passed. If it's outside the statute of limitations, which a lot of these crimes won't be, let the public domain, the court of public opinion, know what happened. Millions and millions of taxpayer dollars were spent investigating this man. Tens of millions, raids, and we know absolutely nothing. It's the public's right to know. I know that you and I and all of us are tired of talking about it, tired of hearing about it, but it's time. Let's get it all out there and let's get it out of the way. Those who need to face justice will face the justice they need. And those who are innocent will be exonerated. It's as simple as that. So over on the Senate side, they're having a little bit of a hard time. President Trump can't get any of his judicial nominees through because of this old tradition of blue slips. How it works is two senators from these states are given blue slips and they're told to turn them back in about their views and their opinion on whoever's being put forward. So, for example, in New Jersey, Alina Habba, both the senators in New Jersey, Marxist Democrats, refused to turn back in the blue slips, which means Alina Habba can never be confirmed. Donald Trump is calling on Grassley to end this tradition because the Marxist Dems don't care. They don't care if this person is qualified for the job. They don't care if they're going to do a good job. They do not want anything Trump. They do not want anything MAGA. Alina Habba, of course, representing President Trump through all his troubles in New York City court, where he was harassed and harangued there. So they want no part of it. So it's time for John Thune, Rhino John Thune, by the way, and Rhino's Chuck Grassley to get their heads out of the ground and get these nominees through. Thune had the opportunity over the summer to do recess appointments, as President Trump called on him to do, and he refused to do it. Why? Why? And why are the Republicans putting up with this? We put up with Mitch McConnell for far too long, and look where it got us. Wasteful spending, Marxist Dem policies, Rhino policies, lost elections, and we put up with it for far too long. Now, RFK Jr. Is set to head to the Senate, where John Thune says he's going to be facing hard questions. Imagine this, John Thune, the Republican, hard questions over the recent shakeup at top health officials when he appears before senators tomorrow. At Kennedy's appearance before the Senate Finance Committee, which was first reported by Politico, Thune said that the secretary needs to restore public trust after the CDC and their director, Susan Monterez, was fired and other top CDC officials quickly resigned. John Thune, this is a Republican who, for whatever reason, I guess he's got Trump derangement syndrome too. I'm not entirely sure what he's doing. First, the appointments of President Trump's judicial picks, non-existent. Now he wants to play games with President Trump's cabinet. I think it's time for Thune to figure out what side he wants to be on. Does he want to be on the side of truth, justice, and the American way? Or does he want to be on the side of the rhinos and the Marxist Dems and go down in history with these folks? Which side do you want, Leader Thune? Because you can only pick one. And Republicans in the Senate need to stand strong. And they need to call this man out for who he is and what he's doing. The days of sitting back and allowing these rhinos to take over the party are over. President Trump needs to speak out. His administration needs to speak out and keep these people on a tight leash. Mike Johnson's another one who, Mike Johnson, to his credit, I think is doing a better job than I expected him to do. Not quite 100%, but I think he's probably 80% of the way there. These people need to be held on a tight leash. No exceptions, no ifs, ands, or buts. We can't allow this to happen. We cannot allow President Trump's 3.5 years left to be ruined by these people who have severe cases of Trump derangement syndrome. Folks, that's it for us tonight. Rant over. We hope to see you back here tomorrow for the Great America Show, where our quest for truth, justice, and the American way continues. Same time, same place tomorrow. Until then, may God bless you, may God bless America, and may God bless the great Lou Dobbs. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Good night, and God bless you all.